Hello, this is Grace Ramon, and you are listening to Organize with Grace. I'm really glad that you're here today because we're going to talk about something that just sits in the back of your mind, that unfinished project. Whatever you want to call it. It could be a project, it could be a task, it could be that one thing that you keep telling yourself you'll get to one day, but somehow that day never comes. Maybe it's a closet. Maybe it's the paperwork. Maybe it's debt that you've been carrying over the years, credit card debt that it's just sitting there over the years. And believe you me, I know about this because if you go back to my old episodes, I talk about that and it's heavy. Maybe it's that one room you keep the door closed to. You know, the one that you make sure it's closed, especially when guests are coming. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. And I want to tell you something. You're not alone. And I'm not saying all of this in judgment. You should know me by now, but if you don't know me by now, you will never, never know me. Okay, simply read right there. I want to get refocused. Focus. Every single person I work with has some version of that project they've been avoiding. And I've mentioned it before. Let's talk about that sentence that we all say, yes, even me at one point, when I feel the overwhelm creeping in. Ready? I don't know where to start. It is the most common thing people tell me. But here's what I've learned, and I say this with so much love and kindness. It isn't that you don't know where to start. It's that starting alone feels overwhelming. When you walk into that space all by yourself, your body tenses up. Those shoulder muscles start to tighten, your mind goes blank, and then suddenly you're walking back out as if nothing happened. And, well, nothing did happen. Because maybe you said to yourself, I'll try again tomorrow. But tomorrow feels like yesterday, and the cycle continues. And know this, there is nothing wrong with you. But what is missing is that you are unsupported. Yes, unsupported. And I'm going to talk about that quite a bit more in a little bit. But for now, I want to tell you, last week I talked about my offer called Calm Clarity. And if that resonated with you, that offer is still available. And some women want to understand why they freeze, why the clutter feels so emotional, and why their nervous system shuts down. And Calm Clarity is perfect for that deeper inner work. But here's what I have been sensing. For most women in this season, before you do the deeper work, you just need a win. You just need something accomplished. And you need to start something and actually finish it. And that's why I'm shifting my focus right now. I am putting Calm Clarity to the side. Not away, just to the side, because the thing that your heart needs most is not more understanding. It's support. Support in taking your very first step or in finishing what you started. Before we get more into what happens next after you've chosen that one place to start, after realizing that you do know where to begin, I want to tell you about something that I created with you in mind. And it's called Finish It with Grace. And it's practical and action driven. This is going to be a Zoom session for you and I, so you can sign up for it wherever you are in the world. And this session is for the woman who keeps saying, I just need to start. Why do I keep avoiding this? I should have finished this years ago. And I wonder if I do better when I'm doing something with people. And if this sounds like you, then this is your session. Finish It with Grace is a 90-minute side-by-side, let's get this done together type of experience. And this is all about taking the first steps of your project together in real time. I help guide you, and I help you make each decision calmly. And I don't make the decision for you, but I provide ways to aid you in making the decision that is right for yourself. And we move one item, one pile, one step at a time, and you will leave the session saying, "Oh my gosh, I finally started," or "Wow, I finally finished this thing that's been weighing over my head." And you know what? That feeling is life-changing. And here's why I want Finish It with Grace to be your first step. When you finally finish one thing, even if it's small, your whole nervous system has this shift, You feel lighter, you feel hopeful, you also breathe differently. And then suddenly your home doesn't feel like such a mountain anymore. It feels manageable, right? And you break the freeze pattern that you tend to have. You break that and you break the shame. And that is why this session comes before Calm Clarity for most people. So Calm Clarity is amazing for deep emotional understanding, but most of us need support just getting out of the stuck mode in the first place. And so Finish It with Grace, I believe, is the session that gets you moving. Now you might be like, really? That's it? You're going to tell me about your paid offer? Okay. Before you move on to the next podcast, hear me out. Like I said, I do want to give you the method that you can start even as early as today. All right, for the practical steps that you can take away from this podcast, even if we don't end up working together, which I do hope we do. Okay, so remember when I said that you already know what the problem is? Step one is recognizing that problem. By recognizing that problem, you know where to start. And don't tell me it's the whole house, because it really isn't most of the time. You can focus on the one thing. For example, there are too many clothes, too many sweatshirts, too many paper piles that never get fully dealt with. So yes, once you recognize what that one thing is that's been bugging you, decluttering is the next step. And I want to say that clearly because I don't want you to think you're missing some secret, okay? Decluttering is key. I've said this over and over and over in this podcast, and I will keep on saying it. All right, but then when someone tells me, I don't know where to start, this is my answer. I've already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Start with the thing that is bothering you the most. Not what should be done, not what's embarrassing, not the whole house. Start with a thing that keeps interrupting your peace. All right, I'm going to give you an example. The laundry room where everything gets dropped, the clothes on the floor outside of your calm space, that drawer that's got way too many sweatshirts. Pick one, just one. And then step two, make this commitment. And this is where most people go off track. Remember, you are not reorganizing everything. You are simply committing to one space, one area, or one group of things. That is it. And here's the only action I want you to take. I want you to gather everything that belongs to that one thing. All the sweatshirts, maybe all the dishes, all the clothes in the laundry room. Put them all in one place so that you can actually see what you are dealing with. And if that's all you do for today, that counts. All right. And then, like I said, the next step is decluttering. And that's when you ask yourself questions like, do I really need 50 sweatshirts? Or can I create a landing space for my paperwork so that I don't put it down everywhere? All right. And then here's the part that most people don't talk about. The reason this still doesn't get finished isn't because you don't know what to do next. Most women already know what needs to go. Yes, you will have emotional attachments, and there will be times where you have a really difficult time letting go. And that's understandable. And that's what I love to talk about is the emotional attachments that we have. And I have episodes for that too. And I may be linking that within the podcast description. And, I'm not negating the fact that it's very emotional to let go. But this is what I want you to think of me as. Think of me as the one that fills the gap between knowing and doing. Also, the thing with decluttering, it requires decisions. It requires boundaries. It requires staying with discomfort. And it requires, quite a lot of energy. And when you're doing that alone, while managing work, while managing adult kids, maybe even grandkids, schedules, and like I said earlier, emotions and just the daily life, your nervous system is already overloaded. When you stop halfway through, or you end up abandoning ship when it comes to doing the thing, know that there is nothing wrong with you. It's really not because you lack discipline. It's because you don't have support. And I'm going to warn you that I'm going to say it a couple more times, but I hope you forgive me for that. Support doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. It means you don't have to be the one holding the process in your head. And that's the difference between starting and actually finishing. And this is exactly why I created Finish It with Grace. And yes, I can teach you how to declutter. You could also watch YouTube videos about that and other podcasts that tell you step by step. You can listen to my prior episodes that tell you how to do things step by step. But truthfully, you already know the step. The difference is giving you the support while you finish. So the pile doesn't sit there for weeks, months, maybe even years. So the space actually changes. So the calm you've been wanting, you've been craving can stay. All right? So if you start but can't seem to finish, Finish It with Grace is for you. And we're going to work on one area with me by your side so you can actually get it done. And if you're ready for that, just click the link in the podcast description. Sound good? Now, at the beginning of this episode, I kind of called it out that you already know what you want to deal with but have been avoiding. And it's really not to call you out or make you feel embarrassed. What I want you to begin to have is trust, courage, and confidence in yourself, and trust in the decisions you are making. And if you need some of that, come on over and you can borrow some of mine. Not that I'm someone who has arrived, but as someone who says you don't have to do this alone anymore. All right, really quick story time before we end. I worked with a client who had been putting off her closet for 3 years. It was 3 years ago that she come to a realization that it's time to declutter her closet. But every time she tried to start, she froze. She was overwhelmed before she even opened the door. And do you know how long it took us to finish it together? 3 hours. And yes, there was a little bit more left as far as like the designing part of her closet, but can you imagine 3 years of emotional weight lifted in 3 hours of being supported? That is the power of having someone beside you. You're not meant to do this alone. So if you've gone this far, if you've finished the episode, thank you. Thank you so much for staying with me this whole time. And if you're listening right now and you feel that little tug, like, yes, this is what I need, this is what I've been wanting type of feeling, I invite you to book a Finish It with Grace session. And you don't necessarily have to know what project to pick right this second, but again, little hint, you kind of know, but you don't even have to feel ready. You don't have to feel motivated. You just have to show up, and I'll take it from there. And by the way, this podcast is being published during the Christmas season of 2025. And if you're wondering what gift to give to yourself, and if you've stayed this far into the episode, again, thank you. And Consider this as confirmation that a session of Finish It with Grace is the perfect gift to give to yourself. Now, friend, hear me. You're not behind. You're not a failure. You're not scattered. Your home is definitely not too far gone. You just needed someone beside you in the moment to try to begin or to try to finish. That's what this session is about. That is what Finish It with Grace is all about. I'm here when you're ready. Again, you have been listening to Organize with Grace, and this is Grace. Now take a deep breath. You are closer than you think.